You haven't had a 9-month-old in a long time, have you, Shannon? 3 squares.
I did everything I wasn't supposed to do in 9 months. So, I'm already on cereal and food. 9 months. She has a regular, consistent diet. She's not restricted at this time. She still has formula, and she does baby cereal, so we're trying to work with her on that in like an oatmeal format, that consistency, and seeing how she does with that.
Good. Sarah, then Jane.
Okay. Before you took Rose to the pediatrician, I'm assuming she's going to the pediatrician, did she already have a pediatrician that she was seeing?
I wasn't informed of any prior medical information. I just did what, as a foster mom, we're required to take the child within 72 hours of being in our home.
And how many times has she seen the pediatrician at this point?
We'll say 3.
Okay, this Sarah.
You sound frustrated by the fact she hasn't shown up, but the mother hasn't come to her visits. Have you had any contact with the mother directly, or she just doesn't show up?
I mean, from what I've heard and what I think I know about this case, I don't understand why we're even entertaining mom and visits. And I just wonder if I'm willing to adopt her and give her the love and care she needs, then why wait?
Yes. A general question, and then I think I had Jane is going to, general
So
question.
who finds the pediatrician? Is it responsibility of the foster parent?
There'll be a list of providers that take Medicaid, so foster mom will know who she can take it to. Jane, you had a question for foster mom?
Yes, she had severe diaper rash. Has that been cleared?
Good question.
Yes, that has to be cleared up.
Good question.
I have a general question.
Okay, general question here.
Is it appropriate or is it a good idea to ask a foster parent if the child has what they need as far as, I mean, if
Clothing, kind of basic
well,
needs.
whatever. If it's our job to help find things that fall through the cracks, is that okay to ask does the child have?
Yep, you have everything, because we have relative placements and foster placements that are really, need clothes, need diapers, need formula. Usually they'll tell you, but it's always good to ask.
So the general follow-up on that then, well, say if she said, oh, no, actually she needs diapers and she needs clothes.
Say, I'll see what I can do. Not making any promises, but CASA may be able to help with that.
Can
And
CASA help with that?
Sometimes we have donors, sometimes we have things already, here. Sometimes we take it to the child welfare board, so we can get creative about it. But, we've had it in the past, we've got diapers, formula, clothes. General or question?
Kind of general.
Okay.
Okay, so during like the supervised visitations with the foster parent and the real parent, who supervises it?
Okay,
The
CPS will
worker?
supervise, and foster parent will drop the child off and leave.
Okay, so the foster parent does not stay for that?
No,
Okay.
doesn't stay.
Okay.
And then Nancy, you have a question for foster mom? Okay, foster mom, and then Sarah.
Are you fostering to foster, or are you fostering to adopt?
Good question.
I'm open to adoption. I'm just fostering, but I'm eligible for adoption, and this is a baby that I would consider to adopt.
Ooh, good question. Good answer. Yes, Sarah.
So we know that the state stance on vaccinations is to have the children vaccinated. However, what if mom doesn't want these children to be vaccinated? What happens? when
Well,
they're
the
in
law
CPS?
just changed.
Oh.
It hadn't changed. The legislature is proposing to change the law to say you don't have to vaccinate your children.
So it is somewhere, the way the statute is written, I have a case right now, that's why the DA wasn't here today. It is made it to the Supreme Court, and it's the very first case that has ever made it there because these parents do not want their child vaccinated. We have gone to the judge made a ruling, they appealed the judge's ruling. It has gone through the local appellate court, and now it is sitting before the Supreme Court at this point in time.
So we just don't know yet.
I had a judge order it and the child was done the next day.
Right. But if the parents want to appeal it and their representation goes for it, if they had good representation, he filed the appeal, and we are almost a year later still waiting to have this child vaccinated.
Can I ask a general question on that?
Sure.
So have you seen in your work with CPS, have you seen that a child has been removed from the home because of immunizations, or has that ever been an issue?
Now, we've seen kids that have never been to the doctor, ever. And they get, I mean, we had a situation with a little 2-year-old, well, she wasn't quite 2, when they picked her up, she wasn't speaking. And there was, but when you went back and read the medical record, and you had to go way back, she failed her hearing test at birth, but it had never been followed up on. So that's why reading the medical record is so key.
Yeah, she was asking like more so along the lines of removal.
No,
Typically,
not that I know
Because
of.
that's their right as a parent. So there is a waiver that, for instance, and I'll keep it brief, the family could have signed a waiver. They basically didn't sign it in time. So once the department steps in, then they are now like partly the legal parents. And so it's now a parent versus a legal parent fighting over should this child have shots or not. But if there was a waiver already signed at the time of birth, then once that child comes into care, for the most part, it has to be honored unless, and there's other rules and regulations by law with being a foster home and all that great stuff in daycares, so
So
yeah.
as a foster parent, how do you get that child into school if the parent doesn't want them to have their immunizations?
In foster care, they can't refuse a child for attending school. It's a whole different ballgame. They can come with no identification. Once they are in your home, they are responsible to be enrolled, and the liaison and other parties work to give them that identification for their child.
So there's a foster care liaison at every school district.
Yeah.
All right, questions for foster mom. We know she wants to adopt. We know she feels strongly about it. What other questions do you guys have for foster mom?
Do you have any questions for CASA?
Just, do you know how long it's gonna take?
Oh,
Longer
no.
will it be?
In German, no.
I'll talk to the caseworker about it.
Yeah, so if foster mom has questions for you and starts asking a lot of questions, what do we say?
Refer to your CPS
Oh, everybody was paying attention last week. All right, who has questions for foster mom? Those of you who haven't asked questions yet? No. Everybody, there's a lot of people. It's hard to think of duplicate. I mean, everybody probably has a lot of duplicate questions. All
I have
right.
another general question, it'll be really
Yes,
fast, I promise.
sure.
So we were talking about, do they have everything the child needs? It's us overstepping if we were to go out and buy something.
Yes,
for the
I'm so
child, right?
glad you said that. Please don't spend your own money. Now, I have had CASAs behind the scenes come to me and say, I know this family, not necessarily their CASA family, I know this family needs a queen size mattress. I have the means to do that. You can donate the money to Voices for Children, and then CASA would make the, would give it to the child. So
Okay.
you would never,
So do it through you guys if
yes,
we're gonna do it?
yes, if you're gonna do it, yeah. You don't wanna, we don't want CASA to be seen as the gift giver,
Right.
basically. Okay, here comes the exciting part. Kathy's been sitting on her little ball. Yeah, your hair looks too good. Kathy, right.
And can you turn your shirt inside out?
So this is Kathy Lord Jones, and you'll get to know Kathy and Chantel even better when they present after we have court report writing tonight. Kathy works in Grimes, Madison, and Leon counties, and Chris got to see her in action. That's good, and I wanted to tell you there's coffee out there back behind you.
You have it up here.
I know, but it's not as good.
It was weak.
Yeah, Chris likes his coffee, so we get to know you at CASA.
Yes.
And I try to make it strong, but, you know, it comes out of that crappy coffee maker. There's only so much you can do. All right, so this is Kathy Price. Who wants to start the questioning of mean Kathy Price? Okay, Ella.
What steps have you made in your plan, in your requirements?
Plenty.
Do you have a follow-up for that, Ella?
Such as what?
Look, lady, I'm doing what they told me, okay?
All right, we had one over here, Seth.
Kathy, if your kids are returned to your home, what services might help you take care of them better?
Well, I mean, I don't know what more they need. I've got a job, kind of, and I've got a home, kind of. So we'll work it out. They don't need services if they're with their mother.
And then, who was it? Linda, and then who?
Right here in the front.
And then Jane, and then Mr. Malone. All right.
Kathy, have you met with everybody that was listed on your service plan? So that's everybody.
Sure.
So
I met with
tell
them.
me who you've met with.
Well, I met with that CPS lady,
Okay.
and then,
Met with Casa.
yeah, you.
She's cracking herself up.
The therapist, I think I met with them once, but, you know, I already know everything about me.
Okay, Kathy, question. With your therapist, you met one time. How many times are you supposed to meet with this person?
Look, I am doing the best I can. I don't have transportation.
Okay, that was my next question. What do you think you need to be able to do your service plan?
I'm doing it.
No, what things do you need that are, what things, like, you just mentioned transportation. What else might you need? What other kinds of help do you need to do your service plan?
I am doing it.
You're doing it.
Jane.
General question first, how do we address the parent? Do we say Mrs.
I would always say
Miss
Mrs.
Kathy,
Price
or-
until you're asked to call her Kathy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would say Mrs. Price, may I call you Kathy?
Yeah.
Just like you would anybody.
Oh,
But I think I always think if you show people, treat them with dignity and respect, you'll get some back anyway. And that's one thing that I feel really strongly about, is calling people by their last name until you're invited to call them by their first name. Yeah, go ahead with
So,
your question.
Mrs. Price, have you been able to see your children since they were removed?
No. And I want to.
Okay. Chantal, who was next? Who was next?
Oh, yes, sir.
If you were to go through this program and get the children right, would you figure I'll change your life and make a better life for the children? And another question, you monitor on drug use, alcohol use also?
Do I monitor mine?
Yes, do they monitor it?
Does my children or who?
CASA, CPS monitor in that program.
I don't have a drug or alcohol program. I don't know what you know.
But, you know, given very short ounces, you know, how am I supposed to believe you want to help your children and if you give them 1 word ounces?
Nope. She's not happy with the system. Who's next? Sarah and then Kat? You want Sarah, then Kat?
Okay. What do you enjoy doing with your children?
Well, I don't know. You've taken them from me.
Before we took them from you?
Before they.
Before they.
We did lots of things as a family. We would eat Cheetos together and stuff, and we would walk.
Okay. Kat?
You said you were kind of employed. Explain. Can you explain that?
Well, I mean, so there's like this Popeyes and I go occasionally when they need help.
Okay, and do they pay you for that?
Yes.
Now you got out questions.
I volunteer, Papa.
That was a good question. Marissa, did you have a question?
I have a general question and then a question if my. Yes.
Sure.
Are we allowed to say, like, what I was gonna ask her, like, okay, well, you say you haven't seen your children, but foster mom told us that there's been visits and you haven't shown up. We're not allowed to say that.
No. You don't want to put them against each other any more than they probably are.
Yeah, if you want to get out the house, don't do that.
Yeah.
We're running like that.
So,
Yeah.
have you been able to attend any parenting classes that are on your service plan?
Gosh, you know, there's so many things on my service plan that I have to attend, and, you know, I think I went to one where we talked about what you do as a parent, and it made sense to me.
Because you were already doing that.
Right? Right.
Do you have transportation? Can you walk there, or how do you get anywhere?
Well, if it's a nice day, I can walk, and if I have money, I can take the bus, but, you know, it just depends.
Good questions. Ella, and then who was there somebody else? Ella, go
This is
ahead.
kind of a general question, or I'm confused, because in the video, she's in a car when she's going to liquor store.
Right, but for all intents and purposes, the folks that we work with in this more rural area
Okay.
are gonna have poor to no
Okay.
transportation. Cause there's a difference between, and I mean this seriously, between having a car and having the gas that runs it. So
Yeah.
a lot of folks may have a car, but they may not have the means to get it
Gotcha.
running all the time.
Right, right.
Who was next? Sarah.
You said you haven't been able to see your kids. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Why haven't you been able to see them?
The CPS lady won't let me see them.
Did she tell you why?
No, it's not, it can't be anything I'm doing.
Or not.
Or not.
Mrs. Price, how are things different at home without the kids there?
It's very quiet and very lonely.
What else do we wanna ask Kathy? Yes, Jason and then Lindsay.
Tell me about your motivation to get your kids back.
I'm here,
And you think that's enough?
I'm talking to you.
Okay, let me, Lindsay and then Linda.
Could you tell me about each of your children?
Well, there's baby Rose, and I really love baby Rose. And Ben, he just takes care of everything. He's my big boy. And Robert's just a cute little cuddler.
Good. That's a good question. Marissa?
Could you tell me about like your normal, what you do on a day-to-day, what you do when you wake up, how it's different from when you have the kids versus when it is now?
Well, right now, there's not much to do because I don't have the kids. You know, and sometimes I go to work, but
So that's it, you just go to work, you don't do anything else?
I try to go to those meetings. Try to stay away from the liquor store.
Kathy's been out in the county too long. Miss Kathy. Yes, Miss Linda.
Kind of a two-parter. Mrs. Price, do you feel that your service plan is fair?
Sure.
Okay, Mrs. Price, do you think that, well, let me ask it this way. How important do you think it is for you to complete this service plan?
Lady, I'm doing exactly what they tell me to do to the best of my ability.
Okay. And I've kind of asked it before, but I'd like to ask it again, Mrs. Price, if I may. Do you have any concerns about your ability to complete this service plan?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Kathy's pretty confident.
Yeah.
Who else?
Can I ask a general question?
Sure.
So, I mean, we're doing this one way, but I assume that they're gonna ask the CASA questions.
What's been your
So-
experience, Linda? In real life?
In real life, one of the biggest things was trying to find out how much, what we did that was different than CPS. You would tell them initially, we're CASA, we're not CPS, this is what we focus on, here to help, et cetera, but they're getting inundated with so much information, and they're not kidding when they talk about the paperwork. And if they're, what was it, level 1 literacy? If they're having a hard time with it, I mean, you look at those things and you just want to throw them all away.
Yeah.
So they're not, that's why I almost feel like, having copies of some things to help people understand some things. You can't do that, but it's so hard for them. So basically, they want to know how different we are.
Yeah, initially, that's their
initially.
take. They want to know, what is your role, who are you? Because they see you there with everybody.
Yeah.
They see you talking to everybody, so it's like, no, you work for CPS.
You've got to name things so that,
Jesus. So, yeah.
They don't ask specific questions like.
Later on, no,
A
after
little
you
bit
get the
later.
report, yes.
Yeah. Chris, what was your experience?
I made it very clear, I'm not here for you, I'm here for the children, and I report to the judge. And that's an attention getter. They're able to distinguish that because they will see you individually get professionally addressed by the judge. So you have a very key role, and it's for the children.
Good.
And those answers, I will tell you, especially at the adversary, when we just start the cases, those answers I gave you
Are real.
are real.
They're mad, they're upset, and they don't wanna talk. And as Ms. Linda said, you'll be surprised, it goes from you don't have anybody coming to your home to you have 7 different people that are calling you, wanting to come visit, and all different places. It's too much.
And one of the things we look at in the court report, and Chantel will talk about this, is we talk about education. It's okay to say, Mom, what grade, did you finish high school? What grade did you go to? You want to know what you're working with. Maybe she can't read the paperwork CPS has given her. And we assume, at least I did, that everyone reads, right? I read, well, everybody reads, right? And so that was a big eye-opener to me when I came into social services. Oh, wait a second, maybe somebody can't read this paperwork I'm giving them. And so I don't want to embarrass them, but I might say, so what grade did you, I just want to get to know you better. Did you finish high school? No, I only went to the 9th grade, or whatever it is. So those are okay questions to ask to get to know somebody.
If they can't read the paperwork, who reads it to them?
That's a good question, Chantel.
So typically you will do what you can during your visit to get what you need. And then you will refer back to their attorney if they have one and their caseworker to let them know. I will say from my experience, and my former supervisor will tell you, I always try to get on their level. As Ms. Kay says, don't assume. Some present very well, but they can't read. I have one right now. You can sit and hold a full conversation. She initiated all of her own services. She did it. But you wouldn't know that she cannot read and she can barely write. She knows how to sign her name, and that's about it. She has a signature. So you really want to kind of get an idea of where your parents are and what they're doing. I had a low-functioning mom. You just had to talk to her a different way to get her to understand how to care for her kids, because she didn't think on the level that you and I did. She was still kind of, I don't want to say in a teenage phase, but she had to kind of get it step by step. You couldn't be generic, you couldn't be general, you had to be direct with her. And so you kind of want to assess where your parents are when you're talking to them.
Yeah, Anthony.
Excuse me, I have a couple general questions again. First, I know once we're all kind of going through asking our questions, but in a real scenario, if we find someone who is either not necessarily combative, but just doing the one-word question answers or not answering any questions, how do we determine whether it's, okay, we tried and you didn't answer the last 5 questions, so we're going to terminate, or we keep going through the full list? Is that just kind of a
I would say as a
case
supervisor, I'd probably ask you what questions you're asking and how you're asking them. Initially, we do work to go out with you for your first visits to kind of build that rapport and kind of help you get those questions started of what you want to talk about. And we try to be that icebreaker for when you go out in the future, because then now they know what to expect. Sometimes you just have, like I said, give them time. If they didn't ask them the first time, come back to your supervisor, say this is what happened, what can we do differently? Sometimes it might just be the change of setting, meet them in a different place, depending on where you confronted them, and then just changing up the style of the questions.
And I think it's more of a rapport building. You don't go in there and you hit them with otherwise they're gonna, and you're out, so.
I think it's having a conversation.
It is true, Linda, what were you saying?
A lot of times you can have a conversation and pull out the answers that you want to look for. And that's how you have to do it with the kids too, is sometimes you just have to start talking and in a way in the conversation building their questions without them knowing you're actually interviewing them.
Yeah, you go through the house or wherever you are and, what's this picture and what does this mean and where did you take it and who's it with and who's in it? Then you're learning family members possibly or things that are important to them. So it's, it's kind of Snoopy digging, but you're manipulating it to get the answers you need.
And let them talk. You'll be surprised.
You'll be
When they get
surprised.
started, they'll go through the whole list. And you typically don't have too many questions after that.
Yeah. All right, let's take, I'm sorry, Chris, we're not starting on time. We got behind. Let's take till 7 o'clock, and then we'll start our court report writing, which should take right at 45 minutes.
What'd you do?